targets, the World Trade Center, Twin Towers, the Pentagon, now a car bomb outside the State Department. It's what's being called a well-orchestrated orgy.
I haven't seen the red.
Number 322.
First of all, he's not the nominee. But look, I look for you. No, I'm not going to lose.
Mattress for twin price. Full mattress, twin price. Queen mattress, twin price. King mattress, twin price. Store wide sale all day long. Oh my God. We'll never forget.
Oh my goodness. We're looking at a live picture from Washington, and there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. It would appear that there has been another major explosion, this one in the nation's capital. You are looking at a scene of apparent blast aftermath. There is smoke in the air over the Pentagon. We don't know whether this is the result of a bomb or whether it is yet another aircraft that has targeted a symbol of the United States power, but there is smoke pouring out of the Pentagon. This is coming at 9:43 Eastern Time. The president right now is on his way back from Florida. He had gone there for an educational event. In a brief remarks, he said this was an apparent terrorist attack on our country. We do have a couple of reports, one from AP, one from Reuters, reporting that an American Airlines plane was hijacked, that a United Airlines plane was hijacked, supposedly one of those two planes hijacked out of Boston. At this point, the Pentagon, the White House, the Capitol, and the Treasury have been evacuated in Washington. In New York, all airports, tunnels, and bridges have been closed, and in Chicago, the Sears Tower has been evacuated. We understand now there has been a secondary explosion on Tower 2. With that, we will leave you and turn it over to Dan Rather.
This is CBS News continuing live coverage of the apparent terrorist attacks today here in New York City and in Washington, D.C. It's important to say these things at the very beginning. There is much that is not known about what is happening. The second thing is that the word from almost everybody who's trying to deal with the situation, the word of the day is steady.
I was going to work, and when I heard this huge noise, I just get out of the car. Then I saw that the plane was coming down, and around this area, the plane was just, the wing was up and down this way. Then with the second, just crashed straight away. First, when it hit, it did create a huge smoke, not fire. Then after the smoke, you saw a lot of fire came in later.
Is Quigley still over there? Or
so when it hit first, you can't even see the building.
It did create a huge smoke, not fire. Then after the smoke, you saw a lot of fire came in later.
We evacuated. I was standing out there for about 10 minutes, and he asked if anybody would volunteer to get back in and to gather all the fire extinguishers to take them back up to the affected area. So I volunteered and took it up there. Took them into the wedge, actually where the plane entered. I came in from Center Court, which is A-ring, and drove my truck in there, unloaded the fire extinguishers where they wanted them, walked back to about B-ring, and from B-ring back, you couldn't see anything. It was pretty bad.
You see plane come in, sir?
No, I didn't see no plane, didn't hear no plane. You know, like I said, all I heard was the impact and then the flame.
No, I didn't see no plane, didn't hear no plane. You know, like I said, all I heard was the impact and then the flame.
North of Crystal City. Just to the north of your town. Just give that. Yeah, stop all departures. Yeah, went in the Pentagon. Looks like it went in the Pentagon.
سبحان الله. وهذا الأسرة المصرية محمد عطله الله يرحمه كان مسؤول المجموعة. صحيح. رؤيا طيارة تضرب مثل هذه رآها أكثر من شخص. معي رجل من الصالحين رجال الهيئة زاره يفترق كل شيء وأتى هنا منذ يقول رأيت كأني راكب طيارة بسلطان جلاد الهيئة. الإخوة الذين نفذوا كل الذي يعلم أن هناك عندهم عملية وطلب منهم أن يأخذوا من أمريكا وأوروبا عدة دول، لكن هم لا يعلمون ولا حرف واحد عن ما طبيعة العمل. بس جربوا وما فتحوا إلا هناك قبل الصعود بفترة يسيرة. فهنا يمرون على حالة معينة بالطبع يتبعوا سلسلة سبحان الله. لما أحدهم يحدد قال أنا شفت ناس كانوا مسافرين بالطيارة وهؤلاء ليسوا قائدي الطيارة. قائدي الطيارة أصلا هناك يدرسون، هؤلاء لا يعرفون أولئك. بس من الطيارة سألوا ماشي بسرعة وأدخل في باب العملية هي تدور في مكان. ونحن أولنا الرواية ما هذا الإنسان نبشر على نفتح الله عليكم. يا عجل وأنا شيخ الناس الشعب إعلان طيارة وتحت الطيارة ما مصدقين يتعجبوا أصلا يعني من التوفيق. هذا أول شيء. بعدين كيف شلنا تكون هؤلاء الله يأخذنا ثلث ساعة تقريبا 20 دقيقة 18 دقيقة. Se sai,
بعد البنتاجون صار استنطار.
What really happens behind the padlocked doors of this windowless building? The tomb of SkullNBones, Yale's oldest secret society. Its members include some of America's most powerful and privileged elite, all sworn to secrecy.
SkullNBones' only purpose is to get its members into positions of prominence around the world so that they can elevate other members to similar positions. That's it.
Alexandra Robbins broke through the wall of silence to write Secrets of the Tomb, based on clandestine interviews with dozens of bonesmen. Only 15 Yaleys get picked each year. The society includes at least 3 U.S. presidents, Supreme Court justices, and too many senators and CEOs to name. In 2004, Bush versus Kerry was the first all-bonesman presidential election.
You both were members of SkullNBones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us? Not much, because it's a secret.
You both were members of SkullNBones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us? Not much, because it's a secret.
And it's that secrecy that has allowed conspiracy theories to run wild on campus.
It's great for the freshmen when they come in and they see it across from old campus and nobody really knows what goes on there.
There are people who think that they run the world and it's just a giant conspiracy.
If you haven't made $1 million by the time you hit 35 or something, they give you $1 million.
What I imagine is just like a dark room with a lot of people sitting around it in hooded capes.
No bonesman has ever publicly revealed the truth, but it's believed the 15 juniors are selected each spring based on a mix of family connections and their accomplishments.
Initiation is actually pretty silly. Members dress in costumes, skeleton costumes, devil costumes, other costumes. Somebody's dressed up as Elihu Yale. The initiates have to do things like drink fake blood out of a skull.
And share their deepest, darkest secrets.
One of the first activities they participate in is called connubial bliss, or the sexual history. During CB, as it's called, each member must spend an evening standing in front of the other 14 bonesmen and recount his or her entire sexual and romantic history.
A secret handshake? Is there a secret code? I wish there were something secret I could manifest. 322? Secret number? There are all kinds of secrets. You were both in SkullNBones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
Sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the red.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look for...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
NBC News, and it is my sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague Tim Russert, the moderator of Meet the Press and NBC's Washington bureau chief, collapsed and died early this afternoon while at work at the NBC News Bureau in Washington.
Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror. The pictures of airplanes flying into buildings, fires burning, huge structures collapsing, have filled us with disbelief, terrible sadness, and a quiet, unyielding anger. These acts of mass murder were intended to frighten our nation into chaos and retreat. But they have failed. Our country is strong. A great people has been moved to defend a great nation. Terrorist attacks can shake the foundations of our biggest buildings, but they cannot touch the foundation of America. These acts shatter steel, but they cannot dent the steel of American resolve. America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world, and no one will keep that light from shining. Today, our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, and we responded with the best of America, with the daring of our rescue workers, with the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood.
With the caring for strangers and neighbors who came to give blood.
Immediately following the first attack, I implemented our government's emergency response plans. Our military is powerful, and it's prepared. Our emergency teams are working in New York City and Washington, D.C. to help with local rescue efforts. Our first priority is to get help to those who have been injured and to take every precaution to protect our citizens at home and around the world from further attacks. The functions of our government continue without interruption. Federal agencies in Washington, which had to be evacuated today, are reopening for essential personnel tonight and will be open for business tomorrow. Our financial institutions remain strong, and the American economy will be open for business as well. The search is underway for those who are behind these evil acts. I've directed the full resources of our intelligence and law enforcement communities to find those responsible and to bring them to justice.
To find those responsible and to bring them to justice.
Number 3 in the back, the cockpit's not answering. Somebody's staffed in business class. And I think there's mates that we can't breathe. I don't know. I think we're getting hijacked.
I used to chop 800 feet like one sweep. That's another situation. What kind of airplane is that? Can you guys tell? I don't know. I'll read it out in a minute.
I am monitoring a call in which Flight 11, the flight attendant is advising our reps that the pilot, everyone's been stabbed.
United 93. They got some people down. Keep remaining steady. We have them all aboard. Nobody move. Everything will be okay. If you try to make any move, you'll danger yourself and the airplane. Just stay quiet. All right, Boston Center, Team U. We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys to. We need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out. Is this real world or exercise? No, this is not an exercise, not a test. A lot of smoke in lower Manhattan. Another one just hit the building. Wow. Wow, that just hit hard. Another one just hit the work site. The whole building just came apart. Minnesota Star, I have an active air defense scramble, F-15s, climbing to flight level 2900. Aircraft on the ground for a national emergency. The region commander has declared that we can shoot down aircraft that did not respond to our direction. Copy that? You read that from the Vice President, right? Vice President is cleared.
United 93, have you got information on that yet?
Yeah, he's down.
He's down?
Yes.
When did he land? Because we have confirmation.
He did not land.
Oh, he's down?
Yes, we're up northeast of Camp David.
The FBI has re-released a series of photos that document the horrific terror attack at the Pentagon on September 11, 2001, which left 184 people dead. The 27 photos document the aftermath of the attacks, including images of the building's exterior, interior, overhead views, and images of first responders who rushed to the scene. American Airlines Flight 77, traveling from Dulles, Virginia to Los Angeles, was hijacked by Al-Qaeda terrorists who struck the building at 9:37 a.m. Eastern Time. Angeles was hijacked by Al-Qaeda terrorists who struck the building at 9:37 a.m. Images include the Pentagon still on fire, first responders at work, debris from American Airlines Flight 77, the interior damage of the Pentagon, exterior damage of the superstructure, including the flames still raging, and aerial images from news helicopters.
I heard the plane, a plane, right over my left shoulder, looked up, and it was totally out of place, and I was a little confused at first, and I looked, and there was a plane coming over the hill right between the highway and the Navy Annex, and I knew immediately what it was, and I said, oh, that can't be, it's got to stop, and it kept coming, and it paralleled the side of the hill and sped up and waggled its wings, and I saw a little movement in the pilot's window, and it sped up and just slammed into the building. As the plane was going in front of me, I looked to my left and right and saw people like doing the same thing I was. No, 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 beating their steering wheels. Stop! And then they stopped their cars, like I stopped mine, and threw the door open and ran over to the edge of the road to see what had happened.
But most of the victims that we encountered right away were severely burned, and that was from probably the initial blast. And then afterwards, as we went further and searched further into it, the victims became less and less recognizable because they had been through they got hit by an airplane, and when people get hit by airplanes or victims that are on airplanes, they come apart in pieces. So we were finding hundreds of pieces of victims. They were just scattered everywhere.
Let's roll! Let's roll! Take your time! Get on the other side!
Well, when it happened, I heard the explosion. I was on the phone with a friend. Said, I have to go. Put the phone down, closed up my briefcase, put on my jacket, and proceeded to leave. Ran into one of my colleagues who was coming down the hall from the ladies' room. And so she said, I don't have my purse. I said, forget it, we're gone. And we left the building, and like everyone else, people left in good order. There was no panic.
What better way to remember 9/11 than with a Twin Tower sale? Right now, you can get any size mattress for a twin price. Full mattress, twin price. Queen mattress, twin price. King mattress, twin price. Store-wide sale all day long. Oh my God! We'll never forget. Oh my God! We'll never forget.
It was February 26, 1993. 6 people were killed in a terrorist bombing, over 1,000 people injured. And for folks who are really not familiar with the World Trade Center, let us kind of put things in perspective for you. These are twin towers. They were dedicated back in 1973. They are each more than 1,300 feet tall, 110 stories. As Mika Brzezinski reported a few minutes ago, 50,000 people work in these twin towers, and we're talking about things from brokerage firms to law firms and other offices on those floors. They give you an idea of the amount of folks and the size we're talking about here. Each tower of the World Trade Center has its own zip code. Each tower has its own zip code. It is a symbol of American capitalism. And when this happened, I know back in 1993, Dan, the thought was that the World Trade Center, along with other major buildings in the United States, in New York, were targets for this because they were symbols of America. And anyone who was out to prove something would hit these targets. And just like the World Trade Center, by the way, were the tallest buildings in the world before they were displaced by the Sears Tower in Chicago, which has also been evacuated this morning.
No bad news, Master Splinter.
All we know is it had something to do with the Twin Towers.
What's that? Look! It's the towers! They're falling!
World Trade Center parking garage. How did you know? The gravel that I found in Man Spider's webbing. It still had the scent of gunpowder from that bomb explosion of years ago. Clever. I'm impressed.
How weird is that?
That's it. Whoa. Hang inside.
We must wait and see.
Establish a new world order.
On a school night? Did I miss something? Is there a new world order?
Hold still while we scan.
Hey. Transactional scan matches no known dissident, subversive, or enemy of state on file.
Eventually they bring their new world order to all humans. Yeah, government tests its weapons there. Weapons? What kind of weapons? Oh, everything from new strains of bacteria to the weather dominator, I reckon.
The weather dome.
This money ain't no good! It's U.S. dollars! Absolutely worthless!
one in New York City.
While you were sleeping, everyone in the city was installed code. It was a brilliant idea by Dr. Cocteau that an organically bioengineered microchip be sewn into the skin.
Ready for another attack. They began heading north, up the eastern seaboard, towards New York City.
I'd kill to be a pilot. Aware of how much computer graphics is used today, there's just a whole question now of what is real.
Or remove the World Trade Center from the New York City skyline.
And there was debris raining down out of the sky like scenes, unfortunately, from the movie Armageddon.
Building the warplane, it's getting...
Worst act of destruction since the World Trade Center bombing. But believe your eyes. Sighting your eyes won't believe your ears. The ultimate home cinema televisions, speaker-free pictures, and widescreens. Philips, let's make things better.
No, I always imagine myself making great plays, but you never think about being MVP. To investigate 9/11, 9/11 was perpetrated by people within our own government. All right. Hold on. Is everybody all right? Also, were you a member of SkullNBones in college, Bush? Were you in the same secret society as Bush? Were you in SkullNBones? Thank you for cutting my mic. Thank you. Are you tase me, bro? Don't tase me. I didn't do it.
Case so far is that this was a coordinated series of attacks which succeeded with the World Trade Centers and with the Pentagon. Now, from the scene, you heard Mika Brzezinski earlier report that she saw people literally running out of their shoes, or I think it was Harold Dow who reported that. Let me pause and say that a car bomb has exploded outside the State Department in Washington. So in Washington, something has hit the Pentagon. Witnesses say they believe an aircraft crashed into the Pentagon, a portion of the Pentagon, and there have been injuries there. Now, a car bomb has exploded outside the State Department in Washington. No further details available on that. Most international air flights scheduled to come in the United States are being diverted to Canada.
Now, a car bomb has exploded outside the State Department in Washington. No further details available on that.
This is the north side of the North Tower, and this is where the entry where the first plane hit.
They are images already seared into the memories of Americans, but the pictures taken by retired NYPD helicopter pilot Gregory Semendegger show 9/11 from a perspective that few people have ever seen.
I happen to have a camera, and in between the surveys of the roofs and trying to see if people made it to the roof, I just kept snapping pictures.
The photos have finally been released more than 8 years after the attack. Semendegger was in the air and on the scene just minutes after the first plane hit, and was there when the second plane slammed into the South Tower.
I did see the fireball, and I saw the papers that were blown out from the windows in the offices were just unbelievable. It looked like a confetti parade.
The photos show the massive scope of the 9/11 attacks while showing the personal impact as well.
Where all the smoke is coming from here, these are people that had broken the windows on their offices and were trying to get air.
None of us, except for these aviation helicopter pilots, were looking literally with a bird's eye view of the devastation that was happening below.
Jan Ramirez is the curator of the planned 9/11 museum that will be part of a permanent memorial at Ground Zero. She says pictures like this take on a different meaning as the years pass.
To adapt. And the fact that they can fail and die is what provides the incentive to survive. But governments can't die. So we need to find other incentives for bureaucracy to adapt and improve. The technology revolution has transformed organizations across the private sector. But not ours, not fully, not yet. We are, as they say, tangled in our anchor chain. Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. We cannot share information from floor to floor in this building because it's stored on dozens of different technological systems that are inaccessible or incompatible.
Estimates we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
On the morning of September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat-trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor. These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York. While in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon in the budget analyst office where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, on September 10th, 2001.
Estimates we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes.
Osama bin Laden.
The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P.T.2, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
By our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping. NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC-7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize public safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise him, and her. And her, and her, and him. Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it. Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about...
His head could be seen to move violently forward. Remember those Twin Towers? Yeah. What about them? I don't think they're going to be so tall anymore.
No. World Trade Center bombing, remember? During the trial, one of the bombers claimed the CIA had advanced knowledge. It's not unthinkable they paved the way for the bombing, purely to justify a budget increase. Oh, blame it on the Muslims, naturally.
Arbor Day in New York City. Eine kolossale Festung mit...
Lost my train of thought here.
Hell.
I done introduced him enough.
So...
Okay, Captain. Let's knock him out of New York.
For your information, it was Nietzschean symbolism.
It was written, boring me to death.
Oh, yeah? Well, you're stupid.
A new world order. One in which the symbionts, not the humans, not the bestials, not even the high evolutionary, ruin our history.
That attack foreshadowed the horrific events of September 11th.
After years of delays, construction of the 1,776-foot Freedom Tower, built on the ruins of the World Trade Center, has finally begun. Joining us today are two of the project's most outspoken critics. Becky Drager, public liaison for the Lower Manhattan Development Corporation, and Omar El-Farouk, a representative for the Al-Qaeda terrorist organization. You both seem to be expressing a sense of urgency for getting the project underway.
Yes.
What's the reason behind that?
It's taken 5 years to lay a concrete base. I think that really says it all.
Yes.
We need a place to mourn and to reflect on the horrible tragedy of 9/11.
Yes, but the important thing is that the construction proceed quickly so that we have a large tower visible from many miles away.
And are you both happy with the design?
It's okay. I'm happy that the subway system and transportation system is directly linked to it. I think that will prove very helpful.
Yes, it is convenient.
It's certainly the large, sharp spike has many possibilities.
Our organization proposed a design that I think would have conjured up images of all that we've lost.
But your building's hard to see on a, let's say, a rainy, cloudy day. We wanted more colors.
Well, should the site be used commercially at all?
It's just time to get it completed for whatever function we use it.
Certainly, and big business is always going to lead the way. This is a good place for them to gather. A place where lots and lots of people.
All kinds of people. Older people, younger people.
People in wheelchairs that cannot move quickly.
Yes.
The president should have perhaps an office on the highest of floors. You want really important people there, so I say to them, build it and go there and wait.
We need a place where all ages can gather and pay their respects and remember what it is that we've lost.
Yes. It is our goal to continue to make places where people can go and mourn the death of their loved ones.
It is our goal to continue to make places where people can go and mourn the death of their loved ones.